Hello, I'm Lyndon Box, and I have the honor of speaking today with SCAI-TV and Dr. Rob Califf, former FDA Commissioner. Rob, thanks for coming and being kind enough to talk with us.
Thanks, Lyndon. It's good to be here.
I guess you're our keynote speaker today, and everybody's really excited. Can you give us a little bit of a teaser of what you're going to be talking about?
Well, this is a good challenge. I'm not an interventional cardiologist, but I've spent my whole career alongside interventional cardiologists directing coronary care units. So what I plan to do is to, first of all, just point out that my career has been built on clinical trials and quality measures and taking care of patients before and after interventional procedures. And I've had the privilege of working with a lot of phenomenal people. It's an amazing field. Secondly, I'm going to point out that in the midst of this amazing technology and talent that we have in interventional cardiology, it's happening in the midst of a failure of American healthcare. America is in last place right now among high-income countries in length of life and healthy lifespan. And I'm going to go through some of the factors related to that. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for us, cardiovascular disease is a big part of it, very significant part of it. But it's not the interventional part of cardiology that's the issue. It's fundamental blocking and tackling, risk factor management. And so people often ask me as a former FDA commissioner, where is technology going? And, my message there is I have no worries about the fancy technology of better and better micro quality in interventional cardiology, making the procedures better and better. Where we really got to focus is using technology, artificial intelligence, digital health to get the right patient to the right place at the right time. Because we have a tsunami of risk factors in our population that's going to keep interventional cardiologists busy for a long time. And we sort of got to go back now, say, how do we equip primary care people at home to take better care of themselves and then to get to the interventional cardiologist at the right time?
Wow, I think that's going to be a good talk.
Should be interesting, hopefully, and I'm looking forward to the Q&A. I'm sure people will have some questions about it.
Well, now, as you alluded to, we're a very device-heavy field, and I think interventional cardiology, part of the allure for us is getting a chance to work with such amazing technology. What advice would you give to a budding entrepreneur that's looking to bring a new device to market, as far as preparing for their interactions with the FDA?
Well, it starts very early. I'd say, first of all, there are a gazillion ideas, and the ingenuity and creativity of interventional cardiologists and really technology of all types in the U.S., it's amazing. When I went around the world as FDA Commissioner, people were envious and in awe of our technology. They were figuring out how to use it better than we were for better health outcomes. But to get a product on the market, you've got to demonstrate that the benefits outweigh the risk using adequate clinical studies. And even before that, the prototypes and the early models of a device that you might use in clinical studies require a lot of work. They've got to be high quality. Everything has to be documented. Then when you do the clinical trials, you've really got to have data which is foolproof. FDA is the only regulatory agency that looks at the raw data. So there's a long procession of things that have to happen. There's also, let's face it, if you're an individual, your real goal is to develop a technology that's useful and sell it to a company that can actually manufacture it and distribute it. I think a lot of people lose sight of the fact that quality manufacturing for global distribution is a big deal, and it's easy to mess it up. So a big part of FDA approval is actually inspecting the facilities and making sure that you can make it. If it works well in a clinical trial, but then you don't make the device well and there are problems with it, that can be a real catastrophe for the public health. So I'd say if you're not experienced, get some consultants who have experience and know the things that you need to do. But still, most of my career has been with creative people. I'm going to talk today about in my medical student and early fellowship, I was hanging out with people like John Simpson and Richard Schatz, the people who invented the steerable guide wire and the first coronary stent. Richard Stack was a colleague of mine for many years inventing things. It really starts with a good idea. So don't be shy. If you got a good idea, come forward with it.
Great. So I think a lot of us feel a bit of political uncertainty right now, and especially around academic funding, grant funding. You, of course, have been in the center of some of that, as I understand. So maybe could you share how you see that impacting device development, or even just the development in healthcare as far as research and moving forward?
Well, I'm really worried. And I have to preface this. I was a political appointee of Obama and Biden. So I come, as a partisan in the discussions, and people should consider that when they consider my point of view. But I feel good giving my point of view. I don't feel good about the situation. If we just look at the FDA, probably close to 4,000 people who worked for me 3 months ago are gone. Almost always not even given time to transfer their work to someone else. So there are huge gaps at the FDA now for people developing devices or drugs that are going to have to be filled in. I think the Doge brothers, might be good software engineers, but they didn't understand what they were doing, in my opinion. And then you go to the infrastructure upon which all this rests, which is, I'm a sports fan, so to use a sports analogy, if you got the number one team in the league and a new owner comes in and says, I'm going to change things, that owner better know what they're doing. And no one argues with the fact that the U.S. is number one in technology right now, but the disruption that's being caused in the infrastructure is going to make it hard to get clinical trials done, to train new people. The brain drain is already going on. I was at Stanford earlier this week, and I had a panel with 3 Nobel Prize winners at Stanford, and they were saying their grad students are going overseas already from a place like Stanford. So I think we'd better sort of leaven out the situation and try to, if people want to change it, that's okay, but it needs to be done very thoughtfully and carefully when you're in a leading position. So a lot to worry about. I would urge people, regardless of your point of view, to get involved right now. The analogy I'm going to talk about today is Humpty Dumpty. You probably remember Humpty Dumpty?
Yes.
Well, it turns out the first verse of Humpty Dumpty, which was the original verse, as everyone knows, all the king's horses, all the king's men could not put Humpty Dumpty back together again. But I think we're just in the early phase of an effort to really disrupt the function of government agencies, universities, health systems, because people are unhappy. But the modern version of Humpty Dumpty has the last verse where he's put back together again. And I think for those of us that have good ideas, it's going to be really important when Humpty Dumpty's put back together again to do it in a better way.
Thank you. Those are positive thoughts to end on, and also encourage our members to get involved through advocacy, which is a big function of SCAI. So thank you very much for talking with us.
You bet. Have a good day.